Umphniang ba ka Jylla konrat ke samau luang ba ka Sorkar Jylla hadu menta ka Sorkar kampat simrai ban sdang ya ka jingthung dieng tlai ban yo umphniang ha ka Jylla haba juba benrap ha kenta kli jingkli ha ka si ban riu ka darbar sunrai jongki no ba tawain ka Jylla bala kli do nong tawain ka Congress na Shillong West ba Mendro Rapsang yau menteri ka Tanat Forest and Environment James ke sangmau umphniang ba luang ba ka Sorkar ka don kam ban pip nya bahaya ka ni.
Mr. Speaker, sir, reply to start question 158A. Sir, so far no decision has been taken by the state government to introduce oil palm cultivation in Meghalaya. B. Sir, no due diligence has been conducted by the department so far on the matter. The state government is also awaiting decisions and guidelines to be issued by the central government. C. No, sir.
Thank you, sir. So, may I know from the Minister in charge Forest Environment whether the government is closely monitoring the private party, the parties from the private sector who intend to carry out palm oil cultivation in the state?
Shall I, sir?
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, sir. Actually this question should have been pointed or directed at the Minister in charge Agriculture or Horticulture. This question which the Honourable Member is asking about regarding parties who are interested in coming up, the Forest Department is not the nodal agency looking into such kind of matters, sir.
So, my question is, because if we go for this type of plantation, lot of forest areas is required, because this is not a matter of say one acre of land to be cultivated into a palm oil production. This required hundreds of hectares of areas. So from where these areas will come, until and unless we utilize the forest land of our state?
Mr. Speaker, sir, the Forest Conservation Act is very clear, sir, that any kind of diversion of forest land for non-forest purposes, for that clearance has to be sought from the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change, sir. Therefore, sir, if there is a need, then there will be necessary permission that will be sought, sir.
So, I just want to get a clear answer. Suppose a party A comes from outside the state and wants to invest in palm oil cultivation. Their requirement for this investment required a huge space. Meghalaya has got no small space in cultivation of this type of projects. So what they require is a big space, and the only space available is the forest place. So my point is whether the government, if such things come, they may put a policy saying that no to palm oil cultivation because our forest area will go. If our forest area will go, the whole of the biodiversity of our forest is gone.
Sir, I share the concerns of the Honourable Member in terms of protection of our biodiversity, sir. But I would just like to inform the Honourable Member, sir, that there is cultivable wasteland available in Meghalaya to the tune of 390,000 hectares. So it's not necessary as and when, if the government does decide, which I'm saying here, that it has not yet as of now. But if it were to, sir, there is cultivable wasteland that is still available.
So, as per the answer of the Honourable Minister, stating that there are barren lands. So, these barren lands are required for our further use, right? For food production, for supplement to our necessity for feeds. So we cannot just take these barren land in consideration for going into palm cultivations. which ultimately, after this barren lands, then they will touch the forest land, then they will touch the private land, then they will touch all lands. See the impact of this palm oil conservation. I know the government has done a study or not on this, the impact of palm oil cultivation in any state, or particularly in our state in Meghalaya.
Sir, as I have already mentioned in my reply, sir, that as of now, sir, we have not had any kind of intimation from the union government regarding the introduction of oil palm cultivation in Meghalaya. Therefore, sir, we are waiting for decisions or any guidelines to be issued by the central government. Only after that will we carry out due diligence, sir. But let me state this, sir, for the benefit of the honorable members, sir, that we are very, very concerned about our biodiversity and our ecology, which is very fragile, sir, we all know. And we will not take any action which will harm the ecology or the delicate biodiversity of our state, sir.
Sir,
Last question.
sir, it is not for the benefit, for my personal benefit, sir. Please, Minister in charge forest should correct that. It's not, I stand here, it's not for my benefit. I stand here to speak on behalf of the people of the state, on behalf of the people of Meghalaya. Kindly, sir.
Minister,
I mean, is there a question, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't get the question, sir.
I know you consider it as a question or not a question. If you want, I can
did
ask.
not get the question, sir. Can you
Okay,
repeat,
can you
sir?
repeat the question?
Sir, I stand here to speak, not for my personal benefit or personal interest. I stand here for the people of the state, for the people of Meghalaya. So, the Minister in charge forest should not pinpoint particularly for the benefit of the member, sir.
I do not understand why he has taken offense in my use of the word benefit, sir. This is a very general word that is used everywhere, sir. I did not mean it in any pecuniary terms or anything like that, sir. It's just a general phrase which everyone uses, sir.
Sir, it's not that he should tell for the benefit of the state, not for the benefit of a particular
You
member. sir.
put a question then.
The question is, please don't mention the benefit for a particular member, but for the interest of the state as a whole, please.
Sir, okay, sir. Fine, sir. I will not use the word benefit.
Okay.
Fine. But there was no disrespect meant, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the answer number A, government have not taken any decision. Even the number 2, the guidance is still waiting. It seemed that this project, as of now, we have not been cleared. Even the state also have not been cleared. It's either the constitution or the government have not been taking a call. So may I know from Honorable Minister, the effect of oil palm plantation if the state of Meghalaya will accept this proposal, sir?
Sir, as I had mentioned earlier, so the government will carry out due diligence to ascertain whether the introduction of oil palm cultivation in Meghalaya will be detrimental to the environment, to our biodiversity, what it will entail, whether we will have to go for cultivating these in wastelands, or whether we'll have to move to the government of India for permission for diversion of forest land. But those are, sir, in the realm of speculation right now, sir. But as I had mentioned earlier, sir, that we as a government are very, very aware of any kind of actions that we take should not have any kind of negative impact on our ecology and our environment and the biodiversity, sir. Therefore, sir, if there is a move by the union government and they reach out to us, sir, due diligence will be carried out.
Yeah, by Himachal, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we are all aware that the central government is pushing it very hard on all the northeastern region states to implement the plantation of the oil palm project, and it has also earmarked a huge amount of money to be invested for the oil palm cultivation in the Northeast. So on the 31st of August, the Union Minister of Donor had a virtual meeting with all the chief ministers of the Northeast in this regard. And I think there was a detailed discussion relating to taking up the oil palm cultivation in Meghalaya as well. So as we all know, that the gestation period of this is about 9 to 12 years. There is already an experimental basis conducted by the Mizoram government, sir, where the Mizoram government has already uprooted all the palm cultivation, sir, and now they have gone back to the cash crops. So, seeing these living examples from Mizoram, what is the mind of our government? And where may we know from the Honorable Chief Minister what transpired in that virtual meeting between him and the Union Minister, sir?
As I had mentioned earlier, sir, again, I'll repeat myself, sir. This is a matter, sir, pertaining to the Agriculture or the Horticulture Department, sir. So I'm presuming, sir, that that meeting took place either with the Honorable Chief Minister or with the Honorable Agriculture or Horticulture Minister, sir. So I'm not privy to that information as to what transpired in that meeting, sir. Secondly, sir, what the Honorable Member had mentioned about Mizoram as a state, they have uprooted whatever oil palm cultivation they had and are reverting back to other cash crops. Sir, we don't really know what the reason for that was, sir. So I cannot make any comments based on lack of information, based on lack of information.
So, sir, my question was, in fact, directed towards the Honorable Chief Minister, because I wanted to know what actually transpired out of the virtual meeting between the Chief Ministers of the Northeast and the Union Minister Donor, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the facts that were mentioned by the Honorable Forest and Environment Minister, number one is obviously the stand of the government, and he has spoken on behalf of the government from the environmental perspective. Regarding the meeting that took place with the donor minister, and the agriculture minister also was present, that is Government of India, and all the chief ministers were present. The Government of India informed us about the intention of Government of India to support this farming and plantation in the oil palm sector. And in that, there were some chief ministers who have shown a lot of interest, and they responded and informed that states like Arunachal Pradesh, which mentioned that they have lakhs and lakhs of wasteland, and that is where they intend to plant this plantation of this oil palm cultivation. And so on and so forth, even Mizoram had shown a lot of interest. But there were a lot of other states who mentioned in the meeting, including Meghalaya, that we will need to examine this entire matter. So only based on examination of seeing what this is about, seeing the impact of this, the possibility of actually being able to balance this entire aspect out, where if we can create livelihood, if we can create opportunities for the people, that's great. But if it comes at the cost of the environment and at the forest, then we have to think about it. We cannot just simply jump into it. So this is what was communicated to the Minister for Agriculture and also to the Minister for Donor during that meeting from Meghalaya's side. And we stand with that decision. So our stand is very clear. I'm thankful to the honorable members for mentioning this. So we are all concerned about the environment and of the forest cover. In fact, I had mentioned in my last Independence Day speech also that we will be working towards increasing our forest cover by at least about 400-500 square kilometers. So therefore, in this entire process, obviously cutting off the forest and depleting the forest is not in the interest of the state. But as I said, once we see the detailed guidelines, once we see the overall project, as I have mentioned in the press also a couple of times, that if there are wastelands, and it's not necessary we use all of it, but if there are wasteland where this cultivation could take place, which does not affect the environment, and the local people and the farmers want to do it, we could explore those areas also. If there are other areas where already plantations exist, and people would like to replace those plantations with a new plantation like this, then we could examine those areas also. So all these are actually issues which need to be examined. So therefore, I want to make it very clear to the House that we have not taken any decision to go ahead or not to go ahead with this. We need to examine this. It's a very delicate matter, but we need to also see the opportunities that exist because of the fact that Government of India is going to pump in a lot of money in this. But just because they're giving money does not mean that we will compromise on our environment or will compromise on our state and our people. We will carry everybody along, and we will decide on a balanced way and see how to see the livelihood aspect as well as the environment aspect and take the decision accordingly.
Your badge, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, the reply of the Honorable Chief Minister says that they'll do due diligence in this matter. Now, since this is question, I'll not read something which I have read just now. But in the barren land existing in the state, as mentioned by the Honorable Minister of Forests, which amounts to about 350,000 hectares of land, will the Forest Department, considering that palm trees is not a good option, consider planting other trees which will increase the forest cover of the state?
Sir, we are, as a department, sir, constantly trying to increase the forest cover of our state, sir. That is an endeavor which is ongoing, and it is, even as we speak, the efforts are on the part of the government, be it wastelands, be it barren lands, or be it other kind of lands. So we want to reclaim all these and increase our forest cover, sir. So, sir, it's not just these wastelands, but other areas also that we would like to grow more trees and convert them into forests. If that answer is okay with the honourable member. Yeah.
Sir, in the year 2013, what happened in Singapore was the plantation of the deforestation that had to take place, even of the topsoil, to make way for the plantation of palm trees. A lot of burning had to be done. In that process, the smoke that emitted from these areas swept over the city of Singapore in 2013. And the children could not go to school. You could literally cut the air with a knife. The smog was so bad and polluting. Here also, sir, in this case, if any land is given for these purposes, first you'll have that pollution problem. Secondly, to sustain these trees on that soil which the topsoil has already eroded, you'll be using tremendous amounts of pesticides, chemical fertilizers, which eventually will percolate into the water system, the water tables of the area. And that, if happens, it cannot be reversible. The questions on water being raised every day. In fact, today we have another question. But my humble request to the Honourable Minister, if possible, kindly pass a law or a bill or act not to allow palm oil, because the entire world has rejected this. Yes, there is a lot of money in it, but can it be to the cost of our lives, of our state, of our people, of you and me? Thank you, sir.
I thank the honourable member, sir, for his submission on. I was going to mention about the data and the information he gave on Singapore. I'm aware of that, sir, and he's very much correct in saying that palm oil is a very labor-intensive cash crop in terms of maintaining it. There's a lot of pesticides which are used, and that does leach on into the surface and into the groundwater. He's right about that. And these are concerns, sir, that we are aware about, and whatever decision that is taken, as the Honorable Chief Minister had mentioned, that whatever decision that is taken by the government will definitely keep all these factors in mind. Will also keep the factors about how this is a monocropping culture, and how it will have an adverse effect on not just our flora and fauna, but the entire biodiversity, sir. So all these factors will be kept in mind while examining, whether we go for this or we don't go for this, sir. And I want to, again, of course, our Honorable Chief Minister had assured the House, but I would also like to assure the Honorable Member that we will not do anything that is going to affect not just the ecology and environment now, but the future of our future generations, sir.